We're Scott and Becky McIntosh. We're from Lehi, Utah. Becky and I have known each other a long time. We just celebrated our 31st anniversary just last month. And
But we've known each other since elementary school.
we have 7 children. We have 4 girls and 3 boys. And boys are much easier, I gotta tell you that. She'll fight me on that.
You'll
No,
have
I'm just kidding.
some
I'm just
daughters
kidding.
that'll fight you on
I
that.
know everybody argues that point. But they're great kids, and we've had a wonderful life raising our children. So we're actually here today to talk about our journey with same-gender attraction and our son, letting us know that and how it all went down and where we are now compared to where we were when this all began. You've got to understand me. To go back a long ways, I was probably, as most would say, the homophobic word. I was so afraid of these issues and these dealings and these problems that everybody calls them these words, and we didn't understand that it's actually a gift. You know that we've. I'm gonna get emotional already. That these events have happened in our lives. And it's been a journey that we were nervous of, but we've welcomed it with open arms. And it's been difficult at times. But we don't ever want to talk negative about it because it's been a great experience to where we are now. It's built our family. It's made us stronger. My son was home from college, and he was about to go back. He was leaving the next morning at 7 o'clock. And at 11 o'clock p.m., actually 11:11, I received a Facebook message. And I looked down at my phone and I read it, and
We received this message that said, "Hey, so I'm not going to beat around the bush too much. I'm just going to tell you something that I'm sure you already know, and it has at least crossed your mind plenty of times. I'm gay. I'm sure this isn't the best news a parent could hear, but I feel like it's not right for me to not talk to you about something very real to me. I want you to know I'm very much the same weird Sean, ha. I love you
I
and Dad.
attest to you as weird, yeah.
I love you and Dad so much, and you're the best parents a kid could ask for. This is why it's taken me so long to tell you. I'm fine with the pain it can bring me at times, but I just didn't want to hurt you because you don't deserve it. Once again, I love you very much, but I want to keep this brief because I'm sure you'd rather talk in person, and I'm 100% fine with that. I haven't told anyone ever. I wanted you and Dad to be the first to know." Now, the initial sting of reading that was quickly masked as I focused on that last line, "I wanted you and Dad to be the first to know." And I thought, that tells so much about Sean and how considerate and a loving boy he is, because it's really common to hear the parents were the last to know. And here he was 24 years old, and I wanted you and Dad to be the first to know. And I wasn't completely shocked. I mean, this thought had come to mind off and on as he was growing up, but it was not something I wanted to say out loud. I'd never talked to Scott about it. I was not going to say it out loud and put any energy behind it, or I just wanted to keep it as a thought that I was sure would not come to a reality. And then here it was in black and white in front of me, "Mom, I'm gay." But Scott, on the other hand, as he read that, and he said, "Did you just get a message from Sean? Did you read it?" And he immediately went into this.
Are you saying I went from 0 to 60?
He had a freakazoid ballistic moment.
I did.
And
I went crazy. This was something to me that I couldn't understand. Why on earth was such a great kid? Why was he doing things that I wasn't aware of by delving into pornography? Why was he hanging out with the wrong people? Why was he doing these things that would bring such a dark and disastrous thing into his life? I didn't understand it. It was something that people chose to be this way. And so if they chose to be this way, obviously he was going down some pretty rough roads to want to choose that. And I was so angered by it. And I said some horrible things, some mean things that Becky was the only one that heard, luckily. And at 4 o'clock a.m., I awoke to her coming into our room. And I woke and I said, "What have you been doing?" And she goes, "I was down talking to Sean." And I said, "So, okay, how'd it go?" And she says, "It was really good." And I says, all right. And I got up to start to walk out. And she says, she has to grab me because I'm this out of control macho man, right? And she says, Scott, what are you going to say? She says, just settle down. Be calm. I says, I'll be calm. I'll be kind. I will. So I went downstairs. I knocked on his door. He opened his door. And the first thing I did was just had big outstretched arms and gave him a big hug. And I told him that I loved him. And he says, Dad, he says, you've said some really mean things over the years. And I did. If anybody was like that, I knew they had chose that lifestyle, and I wasn't going to hold back, you know. And so I was mean with the things I said. For the next 2 years, he was at school, and I was left home to be the repairman, and I was going to fix this. And I mean, that's what I was going to do. I'm a dad. That's what dads do. Well, he came back the next Christmas, so it was 2 years later. And he came down, or excuse me, he came in and we just had a great time. He says, Dad, I'd like to talk to you. You know, and I said, okay, that's fine. We'll talk this time. And so I'm a big outdoors guy. I love hunting and just anything in the outdoors. And so over that break, I says, hey, let's go out and we'll go out of state. Let's go coyote hunting. Well, it was a 4-hour drive. And so I loaded my two of my 3 sons were able to go. And we jumped in the truck and we took off. A 4-hour drive. We drove the whole way. We talked about everything but that. We coyote hunted for a day and a half, and we talked about everything but that. On the way home, finally, he says, Dad, I thought we were going to talk. I was like, okay, let's talk, you know. So within seconds, all of a sudden, all these things that were built up inside of me, I'm telling him. And I'm going to fix it right now. And so I started going to town with everything. I'd saved. I had it in my mind. I was ready to go. And finally, I just couldn't take it anymore. I said, Sean, why would you choose this? And he said, Dad, you really think that I chose to be in the group of people that is more misunderstood and more hated by almost everybody than anybody else? Why would I choose to be in that? And although I had been to the church's website, mormonsandgays.org, and read that he didn't choose it, and although I'd read many books and things and articles on this, and it said that they didn't choose it, why did I still think that he had? Until that moment when he said that, that was so clear of a picture, like, what in the heck have I been thinking? Of course he didn't choose that. Why would he choose something like that? And finally, this thick skull of mine became softened enough to accept that.
I tell you, this man here, he's come a long ways. When he said he was a homophobic male father, he was. And he did say some really harsh things. And to have him turn completely around and love his son, anyone can do that. He opened up and told me about his life and trying to make sense of all this, and then the years that he just wanted to take his life. He didn't want anyone to know. He didn't want to act upon it, and he wasn't sure. This is really tough. Can I do this? And I don't want my parents to know, or my family or anyone to know. And so he thought checking out of this life was the best option, and thank goodness that he did not go that direction, and I'm so grateful for that. And I hugged him that night, and again a few hours later as we took him to the airport, and told him again how much I loved him, and put him on that plane, and knew it would be another year before I would see him again. And that was one of the toughest parts of this, is not being able to physically tell him face to face and hug him each day and let him know how much I loved him. And we have to love all of our children, no matter what their choices are. And if they can feel our love, then they can feel their Heavenly Father's love. It helps them to believe in a loving God. If they know that their earthly father and mother loves them, then they have a better understanding of a Heavenly Father's love, who is even much greater and grander. I'm so grateful for this, that I no longer look at as a challenge or a trial or a dilemma or something to fix. I look at it as a great blessing to be able to learn about something that I thought was other people's problems. It's been a great blessing to be able to learn empathy and compassion and to dive into the scriptures and to pray and ask my Heavenly Father, help me, guide me, and for Him to answer our prayers and to be there with us and to watch over each one of our children. And I'm so grateful to have the gospel of Jesus Christ in my life and to know that Jesus Christ lives and God lives and we're all his children, and He knows our own children better than we do, and we need to lean on Him and trust Him and keep our covenants and make the choices that we know is best for us and not judge the choices someone else is making, but to love them and embrace them, and so that they can feel their Heavenly Father's love and feel their Savior's love for them.
Absolutely. When you realize that these children that you raised need love, they need a hug. They don't need to be shunned. They felt shunned their entire life. Quit shunning them. Embrace them, and let them know you care about them.